For the past several years, there's been more attention to the importance of learning time outside the classroom. With the pandemic, the importance has increased, but so have the needs for resources and better collaboration. That's the heart of a recent letter to state officials from a coalition of providers, including the Massachusetts Afterschool Partnership. To tell us about the message is the partnership's creative research director, Patrick Stanton. Thank you very much for being with us, Patrick.
Thank you, Chris, for giving us the opportunity to speak today.
Patrick, first of all, to make sure our viewers know about the range of things that's involved here, what exactly is meant by this sort of out-of-school learning?
Sure. Out-of-school learning encompasses everything from after school, before school, vacation time, and summer learning. Essentially, any activity that happens outside the normal school day.
And could this also include some early education as well?
It does. A lot of early education centers also are coupled with after-school centers, and a lot of the same issues and opportunities are present in both services.
Well, right now, we're in different circumstances. Certainly here in Boston, it's all remote learning. Maybe there could be some hybrid learning at some point in the future, but it really means that kids are not in school. They might be at home, and if they're at home, they're not well served for their needs. So how do these out-of-school facilities fill the breach right now?
So out-of-school time programs have been operating on and off in some capacity since the beginning of the pandemic. Back in March, when schools originally closed down, several sites started operating as emergency sites, and they provided food, care, and health and wellness for kids of parents of essential workers. And they were operating during the summer months as well, operating summer camps and summer programs. More recently, they've operated remote learning sites. And now these were designed to help supplement what's happening in school. As you mentioned, schools are either fully remote or in a hybrid model. And so these after-school learning remote centers really help kids keep up with their coursework and help develop other skills they may be missing by not being in school. Now, again, these are critical for parents who are working full-time.
And aside from the fact that the parents can't be at home, I imagine that some of the students in these remote learning areas, they might need a better internet connection too, right?
Yeah, technology is a real issue for a lot of folks across Massachusetts. And a lot of people don't think of that as an issue, but connectivity and technology in general is quite an obstacle for some students.
Well, if these students are home and there's remote learning going on, the parents are supposed to help for that in most cases. But if the parents are essential workers and they can't be home, what about the coordination that has to go on at the out-of-school locations? Because don't you have to have somebody there who knows what's going on with respect to the teacher's assignments?
Yeah, and so one of the biggest issues we've seen in out-of-school time programs right now is a lack of communication between them and the school district. After-school programs and out-of-school time programs really need some sort of link between the schools to help ensure the students are getting the correct and appropriate curriculum and design for the day. And this has led to several issues in alignment for scheduling. Some students can't have lunch because it doesn't align with the school day. They can't take their recesses or their breaks. So it's creating a lot of problems when kids are already in a stressful situation.
Yeah, I mean, what's that like? Because you've got these students there, you don't have all of the things that a school building would have. How do the staff people handle that?
It's a real challenge, but out-of-school time programs are very resourceful and they're very flexible in normal times, and they've really stepped up to the challenge during the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of staff are training, training in new ideas and new resources. They're kind of creating creative ways to help kids overcome these obstacles. But staff burnout is a real issue. That's one of the issues that we want to make sure that people are aware of, that a lot of after-school programs have trouble finding the appropriate folks to work in these places right now.
Why are they so hard to find?
Well, because of the changed school hours, programs who would normally offer college kids, students, to work in the program can't find them right now. There's also health and safety concerns. Folks who may have older parents at home, or may have young kids, may not feel it's the appropriate risk to put themselves in.
Because I imagine where schools are open, you have to be careful about how you do things. You have to have protective equipment available. You might even have to have spaces where a student who might be symptomatic has to be separated. What about those concerns? Do you have to struggle with those too?
After school programs are certainly concerned about the health and safety of the staff and their kids, and have taken a really strict approach to making sure that there's limited spread and exposure in their programs. And there's a lot of new techniques and um, uh, ways to make that happen, but programs do need additional resources to make sure they have the appropriate supplies, PPE, cleaning supplies, and that's one of the issues outlined in our letter.
But how do you get the resources for that? I mean, I imagine the state budget is stretched pretty thin, the nonprofit sector, federal government. What about those possibilities?
So right now, you're 100% correct. It's a real strain on after school programs. We know from our research and data that after school programs that serve licensed youth have a $320 million gap going into the year. And we're really pushing state and federal lawmakers to help fill that gap.
Okay. Um, what about the volume of students? Because, I mean, on one hand, I could see how this could be less than it was in normal times, but in other cases, maybe there might be at least some facilities where you have more students. Which way is this going right now?
We see a difference all over the state. In places like Boston, you'll see higher rates of attendance, but in some communities, we have lower 30 to 50% attendance. And this creates its own problems, right? Programs are funded on a per child per day basis. And if they don't have kids in those spots, then they cannot get paid. Now we're working with the state to help mitigate those issues. And we're hoping that as we move forward, that the issues around participation won't be as much.
Yeah. Well, you represent a number of organizations, at least as part of the coalition. Since you sent the letter to the state, anything you could say about the response?
The state has been responsive over the last several months in working with the after school field and helping alleviate some of these issues. We're hoping and we're confident that the state, who has acknowledged the letter and has seen it, will make some adequate changes in the coming months.
Right. Finally, Patrick, if people want to keep up with what's going on in this front here, is there any way that they can go to a website and get some more details?
Yeah, if you're looking for an after-school program or just want to learn more about what's going on, please visit massafterschool.org. We have a lot of new resources there. We also encourage people to visit the Department of Ed's website, both elementary and secondary education and early education and care.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it. Take care.
Patrick Stanton. We'll have more news in just a moment.